They had a lot to announce tonight, and obviously the biggest news was the Tony Khan announcement, which really was a dual announcement from New Japan with Takami Obari, their president, in attendance, no less, in Pittsburgh, joining Tony Khan, and then you had Adam Cole come on the screen to make the announcement that AEW and New Japan will be doing a joint pay-per-view together on Saturday, June the 26th at the United Center in the wrestling-starved city of Chicago, Illinois, that will be happening. So a Saturday night, tickets going on sale May the 6th, and no matches announced, but obviously this is going to be all the major players, I would assume, from both sides involved in this, and it's probably going to be an extremely hot ticket.
Yes, I would think so. Yeah, we were all wondering, what the big announcement was, and I feel like this was at least speculated upon, if not maybe, outright sort of the front runner, perhaps, or for it being the announcement. And I would say, yeah, it lived up, I think, to the hype. This is monumental in that it's the two companies officially working together by co-hosting a show. Certainly, running a place like the United Center. They haven't done something like this since, at least on this side of the world in New Japan, since MSG. And, with very much the same people that are attached to the show this time around. So it's big. And, of course, anytime you do a joint show, you wonder what the matches are going to be. You wonder who's going to go over. And I hope it's a bit more interesting than the Noah shows.
I was going to immediately say the Noah New Japan comparison. Like, I think you have to look at this like this is obviously something where this is not just going to be a one-off. Like, they obviously have a lot involved. Like, you have Dynamite and Rampage airing on New Japan World now. Like, these two companies are very much in lockstep with each other. So that gives you the ability, knowing that this is not probably going to be the only show that we do combined, that yeah, we can have an AEW guy go over here. We can have a New Japan person go over here because we might get a multi-match series. We can build up to something down the road. It opens up the negotiations when it comes to finishes, because you're not just looking at this is one day we're working together and then we have to go back and we're just protecting our people, and you get a bunch of unsatisfying finishes or multi-man tags. I think that you need to have several of those big singles matches at the top. I would say you need at least like 3 or 4 of them. I think you need like big, really like first time matches with your Punks, with your Danielsons, and we've already seen some big ones with just this past weekend with Ospreay and Moxley. You're doing some more in Washington D.C., but I think that this show will feel bigger because of the venue it is in, and this will be the one that gets real estate on AEW programming that they are going to promote towards, whereas the New Japan Strong ones, they are not promoting those on AEW television.
Certainly, yeah. And we've seen quite a few number of people cross over at this point from New Japan Pro Wrestling over to AEW or vice versa, but there are still some very big holdouts in the form of Kazuchika Okada or Tetsuya Naito. And any of those pairings with any of the top guys in AEW are very attractive still, and enough to headline, a big show like that. What's the timeline on Kenny Omega's return?
I mean, this would be a show that you would be aiming for. Like, we don't know exactly, because he still had to have the hernia surgery and what was healing up everything. Like, the last we got was that timeline when he did the Observer interview that he had not yet had that surgery, and he estimated, I think, 8 weeks from that point. So it's kind of getting an update on what surgeries he has had. I would think this is a show that you're looking to have him on in a pretty high profile match. I mean, this would be the one. I would say he is more valuable on a show like this than Double or Nothing to race him back. I would say Double or Nothing at this point is probably a show that does not need him, even if that was doable at this point, and it very well may not be.
Well, let's be honest. Like, even this New Japan AEW show doesn't necessarily need Kenny Omega. Like, the rosters are so stacked that you could delay a Kenny versus Okada 4 till a later time.
Like, you're still trying to sell like 14,000 tickets for this, like, and they may
could do it. They will.
You think this is going to be like an immediate sellout?
Yeah, to me, Chicago is the most interesting aspect, because like how oversaturated is the market? I mean, I have to imagine that they've done enough research and are confident enough in the market to know that people are going to travel to it, and that Chicago is insatiable in many ways for professional wrestling content. They
did sell this arena out for for a promo with Punk without even like, I mean, it was like a wink and a nod that he would be there, no less. I would imagine this is going to be a pretty in-demand ticket. If they have an immediate sellout, I won't say I'm stunned, but I think it's at least a question. Like it's a very big arena, and you may. Yeah, it's going to be interesting.
Let's just put it this way: if they don't do well just based on the announcement alone, I have full confidence that like Tony Khan will work with whoever he needs to put in a very attractive match up there, up at the very top to drive those sales.
Yes. So they also noted in the press release that it will be available on pay-per-view through Fight TV, and then fans in Japan can watch it on iPay-per-view on New Japan World with live Japanese commentary.
So this is kind of like, the fourth pay-per-view in AEW schedule.
Fifth,
I'm sorry, yes.
Yeah.
Fifth.
And they should be doing this, honestly. Like, I think the market will support more than 4 pay-per-views from AEW, and this is right in between, you have months until All Out, if you're talking Labor Day weekend, that to do a late June show, I think it makes a lot of sense, and to do a concept pay-per-view on top of it, that it's not so much burning through programs that exist in AEW, like you can do inter-promotional stuff that you're not taking away programs from Dynamite for this new pay-per-view either.
And this is right before the G1. Or is it in the midst of the G1? What are we?
No, it's a couple weeks before the G1 starts mid-July. So this will be a few weeks after Dominion and right before the G1. So like 2 to 3 weeks after. And I would say it's a lock that we're going to see minimum one AEW representative in the G1.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And that could come out of this somehow. Like I was talking to Karen about it. I like the idea of one big outsider from AEW rather than multiples. Like you could do 2 or 3, but to just have like the one person and a big one too. Like if it were to be a Danielson or someone of that stature, that every match is going to be like a dream scenario because it's so novel.
Yeah. Like Karen said, I think they should be putting a lot of that effort, some of those G1 spots, to the New Japan Strong guys who have really, and this will be a great showcase for some of those guys too, who might not necessarily be getting the exposure that they want to strictly on New Japan World, for instance. But I think the G1's looking to be pretty interesting this year, between the possibility of the AEW involvement, the Strong involvement. Maybe at this point, Ring of Honor involvement, if that's continued to be a thing, maybe some CMLL involved. I mean, what happens with all that? I guess on the Mexican side of things with all of these relationships.
Yeah, and you've also got the Best of the Super Juniors coming up. That starts May 15th. I mean, you might even like just what the lineup of that is going to be, regardless of like an AEW involvement, just international talent for that Best of the Super Juniors that people are going to be looking towards. So yeah, this got a pretty strong response tonight. I think that the ticket demand will be high. I think this, like Chicago, like beyond being a great wrestling city, it's a great destination spot of like just to fly through. It's a very easily commutable city that no matter where you are in the country to get to.
And of course, for merchandising, like having pro wrestling tees there is probably always, a consideration. The timing wise, we might as well move to Chicago, you and I, John, if we want to, do some live coverage of professional wrestling between this and All Out and whatever else.
I am sure that there are plenty of people in the Toronto area in Canada that will definitely be looking at going to this.
It's only like a 14-hour drive if you go around the.
It depends. It depends the route.
The lake.
Yeah, there's the long way and there's the much longer way, and it's always great to check ahead of time before you get on the super long path to Chicago. But there you go. So I'm sure we will be talking about this tomorrow on the news show and beyond as they start to get into match announcements and such. It looks like they'll just put tickets on sale without any matches announced. I mean, they could announce a match. They have until May 6th. Do you think they'll announce anything more, or do you think that they'll just put tickets on sale with like the concept itself as the sales point?
Well, listen, they announce like 15 matches per episode. I don't see why they couldn't throw one match out there for this one, but it really is more of a concept show that I think kind of sells itself. But I do imagine, because I think they like to at least announce some matches, that you'll at least get one or two, or maybe they'll just continue to roll them out as the weeks go ahead. But it's it's a big arena, and like AEW doesn't typically disappoint in big arena settings. And same for New Japan Pro Wrestling. There's a lot of pressure on them. This is like I think a big show that they need to be successful. We all remember the reputation coming off of. You can maybe point to Ring of Honor being much of the culprit for Supercard of Honor, or what was that? G1 of Honor. What did they call that?
G1 Supercard.
G1 Supercard, for perhaps not receiving the best reputation, but they're working with very different people this time around, and I think they have to put their best foot forward to rehab a lot of their image.
And this is also going to really just show the muscle of AEW domestically. Like, you can take Moxley and Will Ospreay, and granted, they sold out the arena, but you're talking 2,200 tickets they sold for that. You put that exact same match in an AEW setting, it's selling a lot more tickets with AEW promoting that and behind it. And this show, I think, will be proof positive of that. And of course, the concept of New Japan involved. But I think you can look at the difference between AEW and New Japan Strong. It's more advantageous for both companies that the biggest matches be done in a setting like this.
Agreed.